Even the way we use the language in IELTS speaking is different to that in IELTS writing. Well, of course it's different. They're not the same. Speaking is much more informal and off the cuff. It's not planned in the same way writing. We don't speak in full sentences. We say things in different ways. Writing is a different kind of thing. It's more formal. You see words like however and furthermore that you don't get so much in spoken English. Oh yeah, and before I forget, we use a lot of slang, much more in speaking than in writing. This short answer touches on all the differences between IELTS speaking and writing. Let's look into them one by one and also compare how we use the language in a writing essay versus a part 3 speaking answer. And I've prepared for you a quiz to test your knowledge at the end. It's Asia here. Let's get started. There are 4 main differences in language between IELTS speaking and writing. First of all, contractions. It's there, don't. That's how we normally speak. But in written English, we would only use contractions in informal situations. A letter to a friend, for example. But in formal writing, never. And that means IELTS writing task 2 and academic task 1. Next, linkers. In speaking, everything is said using quite short groups of words that are less connected together. In formal writing, we usually make these connections more explicit. For example, we would write, however, writing is a different, and so on. Next, planning. Conversations are spontaneous. They're not planned or prepared in the same way that formal writing is. Sometimes the speaker suddenly remembers to mention something, and we hear phrases like, oh, before I forget. And then you can add another idea. In writing, it's more common to plan in advance and write, there are 2 main differences, and so on. Number 4, vocabulary. Speaking vocabulary in general is informal. We see the use of colloquial expressions such as off the cuff. Do you know what that means? It means to do something spontaneously without preparation, like a magician, off the cuff. There is also the use of very vague general nouns, which we use in conversations instead of more precise words. For example, thing, a different kind of thing. That's common for spoken English. And verbs. Notice the easy common verbs used. For example, say, we say things in different ways. In formal written English, we would write, we express ourselves in a different manner. Or even the passive voice, our thoughts are expressed differently. Also the verb get. Don't get so much. We use it a lot in speech, but not so much in formal writing. Perhaps we could write, this doesn't occur as frequently in written English. There's also that word like to introduce an example, as in, you see words like however. More formal writing would use such as. More formal words such as however are preferred. Having said all that, IELTS writing and speaking in many regards are very similar, especially if we look at speaking part 3. There are some important differences though. Let me show you what those are so you could nail your style in both your essay and your speaking part 3 answers. You know that in task 2 writing, we're often told how important it is to develop ideas. It's the same in part 3 speaking. But not many talk about that. The most basic structure for a task 2 body paragraph looks like this: a topic sentence where you explain what the paragraph is about. For example, playing sports has many benefits. Then you give an explanation where you provide your arguments and an example to support or illustrate your ideas. And you know what? You can use exactly the same structure for your speaking part 3 answers. The style is not quite the same though. Let's have a look at a couple of examples and compare the vocabulary. I've chosen one of those topics we either love or hate: sport. Look at this question. Some people believe that professional athletes serve as positive role models for young people, while others argue that their behavior both on and off the field has a negative influence. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. There are different ways to write body paragraphs for a two-view essay, and in my courses you learn two main ways. And I also give you a slightly more advanced paragraph structure. But here, let me show you just one example paragraph. We begin with the topic sentence where I very openly express my view. In my opinion, despite several highly publicized news stories concerning antisocial behavior and even substance abuse, sports professionals are generally positive role models for younger generations to follow. Now I have a short sentence outlining the structure for the rest of the paragraph. There are two main reasons for this. The first idea. Firstly, athletes in any sport must be extremely dedicated and willing to make sacrifices to succeed. And these traits can become a source of inspiration for the young. Now, an example. Tennis champion Rafael Nadal, for example, not only has an outstanding work ethic, but has also overcome obstacles such as serious injuries to achieve greatness. And now the second idea, which is also a continuation of our example. Furthermore, the range of values he embodies, including sportsmanship, modesty, and respect for others, are models for all young people to emulate, whether they practice sport or not. You can find something very similar in part 3 of the speaking test. Look at this question. Some people say that sports stars aren't good role models for the young. Do you agree? And we could use exactly the same ideas as in writing, but present them slightly differently. First, I want to acknowledge the statement and then disagree with it. Well, we do read a lot of negative stuff in the press. You know, stories about big stars behaving badly in public and so on. But I think, generally speaking, yes, most of them are good role models. Generally speaking is a very common way to express your opinion in spoken English. Connectors we use when we speak are also simpler. We usually say but instead of despite or however. When we speak, we don't plan in advance. So we usually just give our idea directly. And that's mainly down to all the hard work and the things they give up to get to the top. Young fans see all that, and it makes them want to do the same. English often has two verb choices: a one-word verb coming from Latin, which is more formal, and a phrasal verb used more informally. So here we could compare make sacrifices with give up and succeed in their chosen field with get to the top. Some other examples would be discover, find out, increase, go up, postpone, put off. Phrasal verbs are usually informal. Now, the example. Take the tennis player Rafael Nadal. He always gives 100%, and he's had to get over loads of injuries. Not only that, but he's also a nice guy on court. I mean, win or lose, he always shows respect, and that's something youngsters can copy. Notice that in written English, we like to use more noun phrases, such as outstanding work ethic. But when we speak, it's more common to use verbs. Behave badly, gives 100%. Or overcome obstacles such as serious injuries versus had to get over loads of injuries. Sportsmanship, nice guy on court, emulate, copy. Now, let's play a little game. We're gonna look at pairs of sentences, and you have to decide which one you would probably write and which one you would probably say. Let's start. Number 1. I always liked sports, but I discovered at an early age that I was not very good at them. B. I always liked sports, but I found out pretty quickly that I wasn't very good at them. So, what do you think? In B, we have a contraction, wasn't, and the phrasal verb found out, which is more informal than discovered. There is also the at an earlier age in A, which is certainly more formal than pretty quickly. Fine, the first sounds more written and the second spoken. Number 2, if you look at the numbers, it is obvious to me that not many middle-aged people are taking enough exercise. B. If you study the statistical evidence, it is clear that not many middle-aged people are taking enough exercise. Well, there doesn't seem to be much difference in the second part of each, just obvious in one and clear in the other. And the to me after obvious in A. Does that make it sound spoken? If we look at the first part of each, then we see look at the numbers versus study the statistical evidence. Right, that makes B definitely more formal. Number 3. Some people believe that taking part in a sports activity is much more important than winning. B. Some people argue that participating in a sports event is much more important than winning. What do you think? Believe is acceptable in spoken or written versions, while argue is more likely in written English. And taking part versus participating in. And what about sports activity or sports event? Again, the first option in each case is a little less formal. A is more spoken and B written. Number 4. There is evidence to suggest that teenage girls are often discouraged from participating in sport. B. I've read that teenage girls are put off participating in sport. This one is too easy, right? Sentence A is longer and starts with that academic style, there is evidence to suggest. And the verb contrasts between discourage and the more conversational put off. Number 5. They say that old sports stars don't find watching their sport fun at all. B. It is said that retired sports stars find little enjoyment in watching their sport. We have in A the generalized they say as they say it's a great place to visit. It's quite informal. and contrast with the formal passive structure, it is said that in B, an old sports star is a little imprecise. Do you mean a veteran sports star, someone like Serena Williams with many years of experience who is still active? Or do you mean retired, the precise word used in B? Notice too the more colloquial don't find watching their sport fun at all, compared with find little enjoyment in watching their sport. So B is definitely more formal. Okay, how many answers out of 5 did you score on the quiz? Let me know in the comments. Sometimes it's easy to see the difference, sometimes it's not. Just think about the IELTS exam for a moment. Yes, writing task 2 is formal, as is academic writing task 1. But general training task 1, the letter, can be formal, semi-formal, or informal. A letter to a friend, for example. And the speaking test, it's never going to be quite informal, like a chat between old friends. And I'm sure that many test takers will feel that they must speak as formally as possible to impress the examiner, but not really. Please don't speak like a book. Try to communicate more naturally, whatever this means to you personally. And when you write, also don't feel that you have to go extra formal. Express your ideas clearly, but don't overcomplicate things. And learn a variety of linking words or connectors for both IELTS writing and speaking. And here are 2 videos where you can do that. And thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam. Bye!